This is the Forever West Old Time Radio Hour, and we are not that far past showtime. Yeah, I wasn't too bad getting my coffee ready this evening.
Yeah, your instant coffee was about 8 minutes.
It's Senka.
Senka.
The good old 1970s decaf
Oh, yeah.
coffee.
Oh, yeah. There's even some movies in the 80s that mention Senka.
Well, it's still going strong.
Right.
Hey, thanks to everybody for being here. I'm excited about tonight. This is a special occasion in that tonight is the first old time radio hour with a guest. So this is our first 3-person panel on the old time radio hour. I'd like to welcome to the airwaves Daniel Ramirez, who's joining us from Texas, right, Daniel?
Yes, sir. San Antonio. How y'all doing?
What's up, Daniel?
How y'all doing tonight? Everything good?
Everything's good, man. How's the weather down there? That's ridiculous for that kind of area, but I live in the Pacific Northwest, and we've been getting some ridiculous weather here. But we've got fires too, so it's pushing a lot of the smoke haze, everywhere and stuff. I don't know how the weather was where you're at, because James is dealing with some ridiculous temperatures at the moment too.
Yep,
it's really hot right now. Last week we got a bunch of rain. A bunch of the rivers and lakes here are at capacity now, which is good. And I think we're about to. I think Tropical Storm Bertha's. I haven't been paying too much attention today, but last I heard it hit landfall yesterday in Louisiana. So pray for everyone out there. And then it's supposed to be coming to Texas. I'm not sure how bad it's going to be though.
Yeah. So Daniel, you were when we first met. Now we kind of connected when I was over hosting Chasing Billy, and we would talk about Billy the Kid and just all that kind of stuff. And you were a guard at the Alamo.
That's correct. I was a ranger at the Alamo. Yes, sir.
Yeah. How long were you affiliated with that position?
I was there for right under 4 years.
Awesome.
Before the state of Texas came in and took over and decided to go a different route. So they brought in state troopers and replaced us. But yeah, so I was there for right around 4 years.
Yeah, and so it's always been something I wanted to do to get you on to talk about the Alamo, because, of course, in addition to Billy the Kid, there's this whole wide world of Western history, and the Alamo is one of the biggest stories out there. And it was hard on Chasing Billy to work that into Billy the Kid, but now in Forever West, we have the whole frontier we can talk about. So it's good to get you in here. When we were talking, you actually sent me an image that of Pat Garrett and all those Teddy Roosevelt and everybody standing together. And you had said when the Alamo meets Billy the Kid.
Yes, sir. Yes.
What's the story? What's the connection there?
He was Pat Garrett was a customs agent for Roosevelt. I believe he was stationed in El Paso, and eventually I think Pat Garrett wanted to become a senator, and I guess that's when Theodore Roosevelt had enough of him and dismissed him, from what I understand. But that's really all I know on their connection right there.
So I wonder if he ever did visit the Alamo when he was in Texas running around.
It's crazy. He very well could have. I know all the original logs from this time frame are still there. There's some incredible names in there. And when you would walk in the church of the Alamo, there used to be a logbook for guests to sign. And I've never heard of Pat Garrett's name being in there, but that's not saying it's not. I really don't know.
Now, man, that image. Sorry, that's a sharp image, Dan.
It is.
I've only seen it obviously in black and white, like a vintage photo, but what the color is, I mean, I believe that's exactly what everybody was wearing.
Man, it's a great colorized photo. Daniel sent this over, and just I mean, it looks so crisp, and
Yeah, look at everybody. Yeah, nobody lost any texture to their skin tone, nothing. Like everything is perfect, and of course, just Garrett towering over everyone. I love
look,
it.
I mean, just absurdly tall, man.
Such a beast, man. He's such a big old, wood frame.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
this
it's a
is
great
why,
photo. Great
well,
photo.
I'll try to hurry through this. I know we're going to try to keep it to an hour today, but uh, this is why again today I was reading David Thomas's book, Killing Pat Garrett, and
Yeah.
it's like the third time I've gone through it. I just love that book. But look at this guy, and then I mean, look at the guy who's on the cover of that book, and I just don't see Pat, man.
Oh, the photo.
The shotgun.
Yeah, that's a tough one, man. If you have the other one on hand or online, you can grab it. But I know what you mean. In case anyone happens to be listening and not sure what we mean, yeah, David G. Thomas, great author, great historian. Um, I would say that right now, him and Mills probably have the best books out there on the kid. You
Oh
know,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, David G. Thomas's books are great. But on the cover, there it is. On the cover of his Killing Pat Garrett book, The Wild West Most Famous Lawman, Murder or Self-Defense. Anything you've ever wanted to know about the killing of Pat Garrett. The facts, the myths, conspiracies. He presents all the conspiracies in the stories, Jim Miller, everything, and then literally just annihilates every single one of them with fact. It's a fantastic book. However, I think remember back in the time when the book was released, there was a lot of commotion about that photo.
Mhm.
David, I talked to him, in Lincoln. We were sitting there
Yeah,
at the table for a while, for a couple hours, and that came up. And man, he got super excited about it.
yeah, yeah. He
He got
does.
excited because he was a part of discovering it and the restoration and worked with the people and had it in the book and there's a whole story, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it's not a bad story. It seems
no,
legit.
it does. I don't know though
I know.
the story if it actually provides provenance. You
I
know what I
know.
mean?
Yeah.
That's the problem. It's a
And
great
again, just
story.
looking at him, I mean, it's just look, he's even that same day. Look, here's the photo of him and Teddy right here in the background. And I
Hmm.
mean, it's just complete. Look how long those legs are, dude.
No, but it's also the face because on the book it is
Oh, dude,
different.
yeah.
But when you look at the actual tintype, if you Google it online, and you find it, or you just do Pat Garrett images until you find it. I mean, dude, the photo's supposed to be like 1879 or 1878, and he looks like he's like worn out and weathered. Like
Yeah.
he's been playing too many night games and smoking cigarettes for 60 years already. He just looks a little too old. There's
Yeah.
something in his face that I just can't register as being Pat. And I
Yeah.
know a handful of people that are not a fan of that photo. Like authors, historians, friends of ours
Oh,
that are just
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
no way. You could tell me anything you wanted to. There's no way that's Pat.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's tough because I feel kind of about 70-30. 70, I don't buy that it's Pat. And the 30, I think, is probably being generous, but it's because of the story, right? And the
Yeah.
story is in the book, so it's pretty cool if anybody ever wants to check it out. That quick little diversion in the Pat photos, that was fun.
It's always goes back to Billy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Daniel, what do you think about this was one of my first intros to the Alamo and the whole story of the Alamo. What do you think about this movie?
I absolutely love that movie.
Dude, I love it.
It's a great movie. From what I understand, Ron Howard wrote the script, and apparently it was 20 times better, the original script he wrote, but Disney wouldn't make it because it's very bloody, very gory. He told a very true story, and Disney
Mhm.
was like, absolutely not. We cannot make this as a Disney movie. So I believe that's when he was replaced. I'm not
Man,
exactly sure who directed this one. I'm sorry.
I wish we
Um,
could get that Ron Howard movie then.
oh, I do too. And I talked to one of the gentlemen from the Alamo who was he worked on this movie on the Alamo, and he said it was a phenomenal script and that more than anything, he wishes that would have been made. So, man, I'm telling you that really hurts me that it wasn't. But it is a great movie, man. It's very historically accurate. If you want to know what really happened, that's pretty much as close as you're going to get to what we know.
Yeah.
And the reason it did so bad at the box office and any movie that came out that weekend would have flopped was Passion of the Christ came out that same weekend. So,
oh boy,
any movie that came out that weekend was not going to do good. And
you can't top Jesus. Yeah.
No, you
Nope.
can't. You can't. So that's why it did so bad. But it's a cult favorite now. I hate to use that word cult, but it's gained a lot of steam years, and it's being recognized for what it truly is.
I really loved it when it came out, and I thought this is great. And then when it tanked, I was like, why are people not liking this movie? And then I've just it's a constant go-to. I can watch it anytime. And
oh wow. Yeah, I was gonna butt in real quick. So if you guys, we were talking about just about 30 seconds ago, you mentioned about the Ron Howard issue with the Alamo, and then somebody else ended up directing it. The man who directed it was John Lee Hancock, and John Lee Hancock has directed the Alamo, The Rookie, The Blind Side, The Highwaymen, The Little Things, and he wrote the screenplay for Kevin Costner and Clint Eastwood's movie A Perfect World, 1993.
Oh, wow. I remember that movie.
It's a great movie. And The Highwaymen. Wow, he directed that one. That's with Costner and Woody Harrelson.
Yeah, great movie.
Playing Frank Hamer and his partner on the hunt for Bonnie and Clyde. Great movie. That's very interesting.
And he did a great job with the Alamo too. It was fantastic.
Yeah, he's done some pretty big films.
But I think they could turn that movie into a 4-hour movie, and I would still watch it and love it.
Oh, sure. Because anything with that kind of historical significance, they always do that, right? It's an Alamo, and they'll tell the movie in 2 hours flat. Like, knock it off, or at least release a
series.
A second version, a director's cut. But a lot of times it's disappointing over the years, those director's cut. The ones that you really want there to be real like extra things, because sometimes they just count deleted scenes and you go in to watch like, well, now you know why it was a deleted scene, because the scene sucked. There was no reason for it to be there, but I wish sometimes they would just release the full version of how it was supposed to be before whatever production company decided to cut it in half and say you can't do that.
Right.
That's why it's like Costner. Every movie Costner makes is like 3 hours long. I don't know how he gets away with it every single time.
Yeah, I know, man. And I mad respect for him too.
Absolutely.
We'll overlook the Croquet documentary because of all of his cool movies.
Oh yeah, he's still the man in my book.
Yeah. Now, Daniel, I don't want to put you on the spot too much if you're not like too deeply versed. I'm thinking you are, but I don't want to ask for something you can't provide and put you on the spot. But like, can you take us through like a general high level history of the Alamo?
Yeah. So the Alamo was built. It's been so long since I've done this. I used to have it memorized. The Alamo was built in the 1700s to it was there to convert Native Americans into Catholicism.
And it was a mission, right?
It was a mission, correct. It was never intended to be a fort or a military base of any way, shape, or form. And I believe by 1796, 1793, the native population was down. Someone told me to a dozen natives in the area. So it was I believe the word is secularized or desecularized. To where they just basically were like, hey, there's no point. There's no natives here. Let's move on to another area. And it kind of sat there dormant for quite a bit. A lot of people don't know is the Mexican army ended up taking it over and using it as a base, as a military fort, which is why during the battle, they knew exactly the points that were vulnerable. So when Mexico declared independence from Spain, that's when things started getting really bad. And then after that, all that happened, they opened it up for land grants and for people to come over to Texas. And a few of the rules to do that were you had to become a Catholic, you had to become a Mexican citizen. And you had to pay your taxes to the Mexican government, and it was fine and dandy, and it worked really well. And one of the things the Mexicans invented, a lot of people don't know this, is financing. You could have financed your land back then, and that wasn't very, from what I was told, that's what never happened. That it wasn't
Right.
heard of until the Mexican government, Santa Anna, decided let's let them finance. You know, they can put a certain percentage down, and we'll let them pay throughout the time. So that was a really big thing to the Anglos trying to come over from the United States. In 1824, they signed a constitution, and everything was going really, really well with it. The Anglos and the Tejanos, they were going along very well with the Texas. And then Santa Anna kind of changed it up. I don't want to say he was a dictator, but he
Yeah.
switched things around a lot and kind of was just not too happy with the way things were going. And so in 1835, Texas, there would have been a little called the Battle of Bear. And I know that, man, sorry, it's been so long.
Oh no, yeah.
The Tejanos and the Anglos, they ended up pushing out the Mexican army from the Alamo. And the reason it was called the Alamo is the troops that were there were from Alamo de la Paras, and that mean Alamo in Spanish means cottonwood tree. And in front of the main gate to the mission was cottonwood tree, so it kind of makes sense
Okay.
to call it, that. And the original name was, I think it's Valero de San Antonio, Mission San Antonio de Valero. And then from there, because the troops that were there were the Alamo troops, they just shortened it to the Alamo.
Right.
After the Mexican army got pushed out in December of 1835, Santa Anna found out and was like, you know what? Let's go ahead and just squash this rebellion right now. And what's interesting about this is from December to February, he marched his army from Mexico to San Antonio, which is pretty impressive because back then it wasn't just the army. Like, they took their family, they took their kids. So this whole Mexican army is coming from Mexico. It wasn't Mexico City. I want to say it was Zacatecas, but don't quote me on that because I'm not 100% sure. Either way, it was pretty impressive.
I'm gonna make a whole meme out of it, with your quote on it, saying this is definitely where it was from.
It was pretty impressive to make it from December to February. No, it was one of the coldest winters ever recorded in the history of Texas. I believe that winter it snowed 18 inches alone in South Texas. That's unheard of, man. I'm from, like I said, I'm from Corpus Christi, and it snowed maybe like 3 times there my whole life. So 18 inches in one winter it's insane.
And you've got an army and women and children going through this snow.
Yes. Yeah. So, they lost a lot of their men to the elements. Santa Anna just didn't really care. He has a famous quote of like, what's one soldier to a chicken or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Basically saying like, they're just as valuable as a chicken. Everyone's replaceable,
Mm-hmm.
So they would have arrived in San Antonio, I believe February 23rd is when the first elements of Santa Anna's army arrived. And it was a 13-day siege. Santa Anna was pretty relentless on hitting them with cannon fire, pretty nonstop. For the way it was interpreted to me, was like basically every hour he was bombarding them day and night with some sort of cannonball fire until he could, until March 6, 1836 is when the battle happened. It happened in the morning. We're not too sure what time, but I've always been quoted like 4:35 is when the attack started. I know that it's been there's some paperwork out there, some articles from some of the defenders on the Mexican side who said that they were lining up like at 3 a.m. to get ready to prepare, and they would just inch closer and closer. And that it actually would have been, not that it wasn't a complete massacre, but it would have been worse. But they got so close, the Mexican army got so close to the walls, and that they started screaming, "Viva Santana, Viva Mexico," and they woke up the defenders inside. If they never would have done that, they probably would have just been able to slip right over the walls and kill everyone. So that's kind of it. Everyone, that's not exactly true. Majority of the defenders perished in the battle. We do know Joe, Travis's slave, he did participate in the battle, but he stated as soon as Travis died, he threw down his gun and went and hid in the church with the women and children. A lot of people think that slavery was illegal at this time in Mexico. It's not that it was illegal, but it was heavily frowned upon. But Santa Anna did tell the defenders that that slaves would be they're not considered I guess what's the word I'm looking for? They're not combatants, so that they would get a free pass, that they wouldn't be executed. So he knew that, and so that's why he went and hid in the church with the women and children.
Daniel, I got to. Oh,
no,
sorry. Go ahead.
No.
I had a quick question. I was curious, and I had read this once or twice before. A lot of the some of the Texas combatants, a lot of them were fleeing, right? And then when they were outside the walls, they were dispatched by the Mexican Lancers that had been positioned there for that purpose.
That is true.
That's crazy.
On the west side, I can't tell you the exact number, but I've heard the estimates up to 60 defenders jumped the wall over the west wall, and would have behind the back of the church is where they got their water from, and their plan was if they could make it across that river, that they'll be fine. But Santa Anna knew that they were going to do this, and that's why he stationed his lancers on the northwest side of the area, so he could have them there to cut everyone down as they made their run for the river. Yes, that is true. From what I'm told, that's true. Yes.
So I have a question, Daniel, that like in a lot of like in this drawing, and no, Colin, I'm sorry, I don't know what the date is for this piece, but in this illustration and in a few of the older photos, it looks like the top is just completely blown off here. But then, was it reconstructed?
Yes. So the mission was never finished, and that's another reason that the Spanish abandoned it when they did in the late 1700s. They never finished. The walls collapsed, or the roof collapsed, and they never finished it. There was never even mass inside the church as it was a complete church.
Wow.
And the parapet that we all know, that bell-shaped tower on the top, that wasn't added until I want to say 1846 by the United States Army. So that's the very first photo ever known to be taken of the Alamo.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's what the internet said,
dude. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, said it was the earliest known photo of the Alamo. I thought that was so cool. And you can see its case here. But,
and when the United States Army took over and started making repairs, they said they were finding skeletons underneath the rubble. So it wasn't completely cleared out like they claimed it was.
That is nuts, man. To still be finding bones and all that. Just I guess I think that's a high level enough, to take that description, that narrative, and then anybody more interested can go watch the Billy Bob Thornton movie, which is fills in the blanks historically.
Right.
But what really got me interested in doing this episode, and I wanted to talk about before we run out of time, is it goes by so fast, man. I swear,
it does.
3 hours. But Daniel, I came across these articles throughout the 1890s and early 1900s. These legends of tunnels under the Alamo, and as I went on, they are relentless. They keep these legends, these ideas keep popping up throughout time, and obviously I asked you, and it's like, no, I don't think anybody knows of any tunnels under the Alamo, but I thought it was a great illustration historically, and we see it in a lot of stuff that we study, how these theories and these conspiracies and these legends can work their way in and just relentlessly stay. And I wanted to read a couple clips that I found. The earliest I could find a mention of this kind of thing was March 25th, 1897, in the Altoona Tribune out of Pennsylvania. The headline was "Secret Tunnel Leading from the Alamo." And it said, a subterranean passage connecting the old Alamo with the Concepcion mission. This latter is not less interesting than the other, since it has the charm of mystery surrounding it. The existence of such a passage is believed in strongly by many of the old inhabitants, and that there may be some foundation for their belief is indicated by a number of discoveries made at various periods within the history of the city. Within the past decade, so that'd be like the late 1880s, while excavations were being made at various points directly in line with and between the two historic structures mentioned, a well-defined and preserved subterranean passage has been encountered and traversed for a considerable distance. The latest discovery of this was made on Saturday at the engine house. Another was made a few years ago by a property owner on Villita Street while having a well sunk on his property. At the depth of 22 feet, the well diggers were surprised to drop down about 7 feet and land in a tunnel. Foul air prevented their exploring it to any very great distance, but the tunnel ran in the direction above indicated. There had been previous to that time a number of persons who claimed to have had similar experiences. Had this secret been revealed to and known by the victims of the Alamo, how different would have been their fate and how happily they could have circumvented Santa Ana. So that was the first reference I found.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Villeta, it's close to the Alamo, but not like across the street. So that's interesting that they found them that far out.
Yeah, and it just seems so certain the way it's written. Like, yeah, this was definitely found. And then
go ahead. Sorry.
No, please go ahead.
I was gonna say, I know there is one tunnel under the grounds of the Alamo, and you said that it was at the engine house. So behind the church of the Alamo, they built one of the first fire stations in San Antonio, and behind the Alamo, there is a tunnel there, and it goes from the Alamo to the Alamo grounds to the Menger Hotel. So William Menger built the hotel, and I don't know exactly when this tunnel was built. I have seen the tunnel. It's blocked off, so no, I've never been in it. But they used to bootleg liquor out of there during Prohibition, and from what I was told, is that's how they think the Menger bar stayed stocked. Was they would brew it down in the basement. Yes, there's 3 basements at the Alamo. Hate to burst y'all's bubble. They would brew it in the basement and then take it through the tunnels from the Alamo grounds to the Menger. So that tunnel, I do know that does exist. All these other ones, I don't know. I've never seen them if there are there.
That is wild. There's another one, December 28th, 1899, 3 years later, bleached bones in a tunnel at the corner of Market and Corcoran Streets. Is it Corcoran? Excavations. Is it still there? Might not even still be there.
I don't know if it's still there.
Excavations are being made preparatory to the erection of a modern brick structure. The spot has been familiar to all San Antonians, for an old adobe, flat-roofed building had been standing there for many years. In late years, the old building has been used as a storehouse. The old building was viewed with interest by many of the tourists who came here during the winter season. Just a few weeks back, the structure was razed to the ground. And after the lot had been cleared, in the last few days, interesting discoveries have been made. The first find was when the plow team was plowing up the soil. They came to an underground tunnel. The horses fell into the tunnel, or cavern, as it may be called, to a depth almost reaching their backs. It was with great difficulty that they were extricated. Fred Hildebrandt, who is superintendent, made an examination which showed that the tunnel led toward the Alamo, and apparently coming from the San Fernando Cathedral. So they have these tunnels linking all of the missions. And eventually there was this theory that came out that these monks had created this tunnel system between the missions so they could get to and from each one, whether for nefarious, secret, dark monk reasons or whether to escape Native American attacks or something like that.
Yeah. Like I said, I've heard all those stories, a lot of them. I'll tell you this. When I first started, one of the groundskeepers, he was getting ready to retire. So he'd been there quite a while already. And he did tell me that, and you can look this up, in the early 90s, maybe late 80s, Unsolved Mysteries did a dig at the Alamo. Because one of the theories was that there was a bunch of gold inside the Alamo, and the defenders threw it in the well during the battle so the Mexicans couldn't get to it. And that was another reason that Santa Anna wanted to attack, was to get all his gold back. I know Unsolved Mysteries did a dig, and what he told me was this. And I was not there. I was like 7 years old when this happened, so I have no proof. But he did tell me that his boss told him that they did find the gold in the tunnels under the ground and under the grounds, and that he says that he saw a humongous golden Buddha statue, and asked where did that come from, and that they're basically like, don't worry about it, leave. Like I said, I don't know. I wasn't there. That's the only one who's ever confirmed that there are in fact tunnels under the grounds.
Yeah.
But like I said, I couldn't tell you otherwise.
Now, there was an article in 1949. What appeared to be a tunnel to the Alamo has been discovered in excavation for the Menger Hotel Edition, just a short distance from the historic shrine. So that may be the actual. Do you think that was the tunnel, maybe rediscovered, that you were talking about earlier, that they used for
It very well
bootlegging?
could have been. It very well could have been that. That's the only, like I said, and that thing is huge. It's not little. Um, like it on Roadrunner Coyote cartoons, how they draw the big entrance to, like, that's what it looks like.
Wow.
On the brick wall, like it's perfectly circular like that. With like the brick on top of the where the entrance would be.
Wow.
And I remember going down there and look and seeing it, and I was like, "Is that the tunnel?" And they're like, "That's the tunnel you hear about." So that it very well could be that one.
And they did is it filled in, or is it still just an open tunnel that just
No,
they don't let anybody?
I know the entrance is filled in.
Mm.
So I don't know. On the other side of that brick, I don't know what's back there.
Man, that's a shame. I mean, that's a piece of history too that'd be cool to let people tour and stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
I think if something happened, it's too big of a liability to have people down there.
no, that makes sense. This one they're talking about, the tunnel, although filled with dirt and debris, clearly was outlined in the side of the excavation, approximately 8 feet below ground. It runs almost due north under the Menger and toward the Alamo. Um, it the manager of the hotel said the discovery supports theories that a tunnel once ran from La Vita into the Alamo, which that references the old 1897 theory I read at first. And
Yeah,
it does mention the Menger Hotel was built in 1857, and you had mentioned a few stories related to the Menger. And didn't Roosevelt recruit out of there for the Rough Riders?
he did. I was actually talking to one of the historians about this not too long ago, and like anything, most history stories, it's kind of been blown out of proportion. He did
Mhm.
stay there. We do know that. A lot of people say, well, he had his own room there. I mean, he was active duty military. So the fact that he would have been staying at that hotel instead of on base is, it's not too logical.
Well, Teddy
Um,
does what he wants.
but yeah, he does. But he did recruit out of the bar. That is 100% true. From what I was told, is he would get people really drunk, buy them some beer, have them sit down, talk to them, and keep the beers coming. And once they were a little gone, he would have them sign the paperwork to join the Rough Riders. Now how true that is, I don't know, but it is a known fact that he did recruit out of the Menger bar, and the one stating today, there is still a Menger bar, but it's not the original. It is it was rebuilt to kind of show what it would have looked like back in the day, and it's
Oh,
on
okay.
the north side of the hotel. But it's still really cool to go in there. If you're ever in San Antonio and you're around the Menger, definitely go in there and have a drink, and they can tell you some really cool ghost stories about that place too.
Do you have any ghost stories of your time there or anything?
From
I've
the
been wondering
Alamo,
that.
100%. One of the craziest ones that happened to me was one of the rangers was going around checking all the gates and the locks, and when he turned around from the north gate, the light in the gift shop it turned on. So he called me on the radio and was like, "Hey, the lights in the gift shop are going on." So I called dispatch and I was like, "Hey, run the cameras, make sure nobody's in there." And me and that ranger got together and we went and checked. And when we opened that door, the lock was just swinging, like it was just like your standard key lock
Yeah.
that you would put on a gate, and it was just swinging back and forth like it was super fast. And I kind of looked at him and I was like, "That's a little odd," but I didn't think too much into it. It is the Alamo, of course. So we turned off the lights and closed the door, locked it again, and we left. And as soon as we left, dispatch came back on the radio and said, every light in the gift shop is going on and off, on and off. It's going crazy. So I turn around, and of course the lights are just popping on and off, on and off. Now the weird part about this, the lights to the main entrance to the gift shop, they're not accessible by public. You have to go into a secured area. And I knew where all my rangers were at, but just to double check, I got on the radio and was like, "Hey, run the cameras, make sure no one's down there. I'm going down there to check out, see what's going on." And of course, no one was back there in that area. And so me and two other rangers went on ahead and went in the gift shop. And as soon as we walk in, like the lights to the elevator pop on and the elevator just goes down. So I once again I called dispatch. I'm like, "Run the cameras on the elevator, make sure no one's in there." And she's like, "Nobody's on the elevators." And I was like, "Okay." And as we're walking through the gift shop, checking everything, just the loudest gargle I've ever heard in my life just comes through the radios. And it's not just my radio, it comes through all our radios. And we're all looking at each other, and I'm like, quit keying the mic. And everyone holds their hands up. They're like, we're not keying the mic. And it was just like, I don't even want to try to do the noise because I'll sound pretty bad. But it was like a very muffled gargle. Let's just say that. And when it finally stopped, the dispatcher came over the radio and she says, I hate to tell you this, but there's thousands of orbs all over every single one of y'all. You might want to leave. And so I was like, well,
jeez.
I was like, we got one more door to check. So I like ran over there, checked the door, and I was like, let's get out of here and let's go. So that's probably like the most wild thing that happened that I was a part of. Yeah.
Man, that's creepy.
One of many. It was a weird night, not gonna lie.
Dude. Yeah.
I'd have rangers that would come up to me and be like, hey, I just heard the battle drums. They'd be standing in the courtyard and they would just hear battle drums, like the attack drums, and I'd always ask
like the snares.
Yeah, the snares as they're marching into battle. And you can always tell by someone's expression when it comes to something like that if they're being honest or not.
Right.
If they're just making it up, they're just making it up. But if you can see the terror in their face, then yeah, that's me in the gift shop. I'm actually with a gentleman from SNL right there. So then that's one of the great places about the Alamo is we met so many people there. It was awesome. So
yeah, that's I don't know if I saved the full photo, but this is Kevin Nealon, isn't it?
Kevin Nealon, that's right. Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. So this is where the lights were going off crazy in the gift
That's
shop.
where the lights were going all crazy. and I didn't even follow up with that. One night, another instance was some of my rangers could hear they said like either a young female or a very small child crying, saying, help me, help me, help me. And they were new, so the rangers had maybe been there maybe a month, so they were like super freaking out. And I was like, hey, like, I understand it's tough, just gotta kind of relax. And so we searched the grounds, and we didn't find anything. No one, because people will jump the fence, it's people want to see what's back there. Other than it being like a big graveyard, there's really not much back there to see, because everything's locked up in the museums. So we went through, we checked everything, we didn't find anyone. Well, the next morning, the next day, me and one of those rangers were standing in front of the gift shop, and the lady came out in the gift shop. One of the workers came out and she said, what happened last night? And we're like, nothing. What's going on? And she said, oh, and I didn't even notice at the time, but the cameras, I knew they were motion censored, they track. I knew that. But I didn't know anytime someone was in the gift shop, once the doors were locked, that it sent an email to the gift shop saying there's movement in the gift shop.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, nothing happened. Like, what's going on? And she said, oh, well, last night we got a bunch of email notifications how that there was a bunch of movement in the gift shop. And she said, it's usually y'all walking in here, checking the doors and everything. She said, and we usually get like 5 or 6 notifications a night. She said, but last night we had 87. And I said, what?
Oh,
and she said, yeah. So that's how I was wondering what happened. And I looked at the guy and I said, you know what it was, right? And he was like, what? And I was like, it's that little kid you heard screaming. And he was like, don't say that, man. And I was like, I don't know what else it could have been, because I know we weren't in there 87 times. So it's just little things like that. And we used to get, it never happened to me, but I have been told by some of the older rangers that people in the Emily Morgan, that's that big hotel you see across the street, that they used to call the Alamo and say, hey, there's a little kid stuck in one of the rooms. He keeps waving at us. It's a little blonde-haired boy. Y'all might want to go up in that area and check. And all that is like the IT equipment in that very top room on top of the gift shop. Of course, we'd go in there and check it, and there would never be anyone in there. But that happened quite a bit. It never happened when I was there, but from what I was told by some of the other rangers, it used to be pretty common. And this is like before social media and stuff like this. So it wasn't like
before people could hear about it and then just kind of like repeat it.
Yeah. So this was back in the day, and so I do know that gift shop. I don't know exactly what's going on in there, but there is some stuff that happens in there at night.
Man,
damn.
What do you think? What do you think it is? Just personally, like as you're around it, do you think it's like spirits or like I don't want to get too crazy. Dawson's gonna be like, this, don't turn this into a paranormal show. Like, but
No,
but do you think it's
I was gonna say actually that do you notice though that in the course of history over things like where any massive battle has taken place where men have died by the thousands, it's the same thing with
Gettysburg?
with Civil War, right? Gettysburg, Battle of Antietam, like all of this stuff, man. The ghost stories that you hear are constant, and they've been going on for years and years and years. So I think that's very similar, and would not surprise me at all if there are several thousand cases of people, visiting the Alamo and hearing those type of things. I would not be surprised. I see that a lot, right? In a lot of Old West. Oh, there was a huge gun battle here. You hear the same thing. I mean, there's a lot of haunting tales that come out of Lincoln.
Mhm.
I walked in Lincoln at night when I was there. I didn't really,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That doesn't hit me the same way. I was just even more appreciative of the fact that the town was quiet at night.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah,
Yeah.
that would be. I was gonna say that not making fun, but that was the first thing I thought of. Well, it's a big, massive graveyard, right?
Yeah.
It's a big just battle, and I think that's pretty common.
I
Yeah,
often wonder.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I often wonder if it's not so much spirits or ghosts as much as to get into physics and linear time and everything. If it's things like that where they're like Doss said, like where thousands die, if there's
Yeah.
some kind of like impression upon reality, almost like a photo negative. And
Dude, well, that's
so
what they say about Lincoln's ghost, right? That they see him in the White House like at the same time every so often doing the same thing. It's like a
right.
glitch in the Matrix, I guess, where it's just repetitive.
Right. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like it's not so much a conscious entity so much as just like a flash photo negative of something that happened there that's been imprinted on time so that it
Yeah.
just keeps you kind of see that thing happening over and over and over, and that would explain why people keep seeing this little boy in that window waving over and over or something, because maybe he
Yeah.
did it at one point. It's just nuts to think about that stuff, and before you know
Yeah.
it, you're on Joe Rogan talking about ayahuasca. But
And there is an account. There is an account from some of the Mexican soldiers that said during the battle they did see a dad jump off one of the structures with his child. So that's always been a lot of speculation. Is that's what that is? Now the gift shop's not original to the battle, so there being a structure. If it is that child, how he ended up in the gift shop, I don't know. Maybe that's in the area. I know. So there is evidence that there was like a lookout tower built real close to the gift shop. I believe they did find the foundation a few years back of this tower. So maybe that's it. I'm speculating here, but maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
Now, I've never been to the Alamo. I would love to go someday. But tell me how much of it actually is there and what do you tour exactly? So that this obviously in the pictures, is this where tourists go in?
That's the church. That's the shrine. That's the most important building in the state of Texas. Um, Rumor has it, no, it's illegal for anyone to build a building that casts a shadow on the church. I don't know how true that is. That's a theory, or that's another legend out there. But that is a church, and that's about 80% original to the battle. So what you see is pretty much what you saw during the battle. The parapet on top, like I said, that was built by the U.S. Army, I believe in 1846. We don't know why they chose that design, but they did. It was actually supposed to be two bell towers on each side of that parapet, and it's supposed to be super big, but for whatever reason, like I said, the Spanish just abandoned it in the end of the 1700s. And then the wall to me looking at the picture of the wall to the left, that's going to be the wall to the long barrack. The long barrack is rebuilt, but some of it is original. I mean, that's where the heaviest fighting would have happened. That's where a lot of the hand-to-hand combat would have happened. And that, if you get another view in the front of the long barrack, I'm sorry, you can kind of get a better idea.
I wonder what about here? Like
okay, so that the bottom floor, it actually was 2-story. That's a little bit more how it is right there. Would have not the guy who did that, he turned it into a store. But that bottom row is where the long barrack is today.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is
So that's
where the fighting would have taken place.
all the hand-to-hand combat. Once the Mexicans came over the wall, a lot of the defenders just ran back into the long barrack. And if you're watching the movie, he says, they're building trenches. And I think he makes the comment of like, it seems like we're building graves. Essentially, that's kind of what they were doing, because that's where all, like I said, the hand-to-hand happened. From what I was told, was the one of the defenders was supposed. There it is, right there, with all the moss all over it. That's the long
Right,
barrack.
yeah.
It was,
Okay.
like I said, it was a 2-story structure. But and that building back behind it, I don't know if at this time that's what that is, but that's a Ford factory. And they used to make car parts out of it. So that's what someone said. If you dig under that, all you're gonna find is transmission. Someone told me that one time. But so that's where the heaviest fighting. I don't know how true this is, but someone did tell me that that if you would have gone in there after a battle, that the fighting was so intense that the blood would have been like ankle deep. It's just
Wow.
real gruesome hand-to-hand combat in there.
So what was this area here where the star is?
That's where the well. That's where the well was. And if you go in there today, though the well has been rebuilt, we have found the original location to, and we call that the convento because it was a mission, and so covenant. That's where the monks used to kind of go in there, and meditate, and pray, and all that stuff, and live in that area.
Is this like a headstone right here over in the
That
corner?
is that's a statue that was dedicated to. I believe that Japan has their own version of the Alamo. I don't ask me to get in because I don't know the whole story. But that if it's the same monument, that's what it is. Japan dedicated it to the Alamo and memory of the fallen here, but also of their version of the Alamo.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just trying to visualize how it would have been in the time that the battle occurred, and it's like, Travis and Crockett and all those guys. Where are they? Like, where's their quarters? Where are people sleeping?
So,
Where?
a lot of them slept on the ground.
Yeah, in the
Because
convento area, or
we do believe that, and on the other side of the convento is where the horses and beef and all that would have been stocked. But this is kind of, how do I want to say it? This is kind of like the back of the Alamo.
okay.
Because the courtyard in the front would be where the walls were actually across the street from this area. It was actually 13 acres. It was a pretty big little plot of land for 189 men to defend. So here you go. See that wooden fence right there, right next to, and that runs in between the main entrance. That right there. That's where Crockett and his men would have defended.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So that was one of the most vulnerable points. And that was actually like the main focus, from what I was told, of the original invasion or the original battle, the attack. I'm sorry, and that Crockett and his men were so good that they repelled it twice. So Santa Anna kind of freaked out and had everyone move to the north area, and that's when it just became overwhelming because everyone focused on the north wall, and it was just too many defenders at that, or too many Mexicans at that point.
This is insane to defend this little picket fence looking thing.
Yeah, it's the fact that that's what, and in the movie they're assigned there, but Crockett even says like that's what I would have chose. And how true that is, I don't know, but it's interesting if he did pick that, of all the places, why he did pick that spot.
Well, someone said earlier, and I wanted to talk about this anyway, because there are conflicting ideas about how Crockett went down, isn't there?
Yes. A very unpopular opinion is that, and I won't say surrendered because I don't want to upset anybody, but that Crockett was captured during the battle. And there's a gentleman, his last name was De La Peña, and he actually he wrote a journal, and some people say it's real, some people say it's not. The problem with the journal is it came out in like the middle of the days of the craze. I believe it was published in 1955 when Fess Parker and Disney were controlling the game, the Alamo, the game.
Yeah.
And so people think, a lot of people say, well, that was just, it was forged to capitalize on the on the the success of the show. But he was there is evidence that he was in the battle, and he wrote it's called To Texas with Santa Anna, I think, or something along those lines. And in it he puts that there were people that were captured, there were survivors and they're executed in front of the church. And in it, he says that there's a gentleman in there called Crockey, and the way it was spelled in the book is Cwockey. So a lot of people point that to being Crockett, and it kind of makes sense. If you ever, there's a guy who makes videos on like TikTok, and I've seen him do it where he'll put like candy bars or wrestlers' names and ask people from Mexico or Latin American countries to say it, and then he'll laugh and put like a picture of what they say. So it kind of makes sense. Like these guys only spoke English; they didn't speak, or they only spoke Spanish. They didn't speak English. So Crockett to them very well could have been Quacky.
Well, and that's what they're hearing, and they might have heard that name in the midst of battle, and
exactly.
and you remember, that's the first name I would jump to if I saw that written down.
And people don't understand how famous Crockett was. And one of the historians was like, I heard him say this, and I kind of looked at him and I laughed. He said, like, this guy was like the Taylor Swift of our time. I hate to use that.
That's a good point.
Comparison, but he was super famous. Like they were writing books about him, and everything. There were plays about him while he was alive. So it's not like all this happened afterwards. This was already going on while he was alive. So people knew who he was. So there is a lot of, and some more evidence that points to that this did happen was Susanna Dickinson. Her husband was Captain Alamo Dickinson. He died in the battle. She was in the church during the battle. Okay. Well, they asked her, "Did you see Crockett's body?" And she said, "I did." She said, "When I left the church, his body was lying in between the church and the long barrack, and I recognized him because of his peculiar hat." And so that's the second person putting Crockett's body in front of the church, because De La Pena says he was executed in front of the church. So there is evidence to suggest that it did truly happen.
That's wild. What do you so what's the other alternative, that he just went down in the battle?
He went down like John Wayne did in the Alamo, swinging and fighting. Because Joe, Travis's slave, said when he saw Crockett's body, there was like 10 Mexicans laying around him. Now that's not to say that's not what he saw, because there was a lot of fighting.
There could have been.
So I honestly, I do think he was captured and executed, but that's my opinion.
Yeah. It's always seemed the most plausible to me too.
Yeah. You got it, and the reason this is true, I feel it's true, is one is the location. He's fighting right there at the wall. And not only that, the church was the last part to be cleared by the Mexican army. So it puts him right there in front of the church, the last part of the battle. To me, everything just kind of adds up to be true.
Yeah. Roland just sent me this, the model of the Alamo at the time of the battle. Thanks, Roland. That's pretty cool. So here's where we're looking at. Here's okay. So, wow. Yeah, that puts it in a great perspective there.
Yeah. You can see where this southwest corner, if you kind of zoom out and go to the bottom of the page to your right, is where our biggest cannon would have been. That would have been where the 18-pound cannon would have been, right there on the corner.
Right here?
Yeah, that's the 18-pound cannon.
Man.
And that, you know what? That actually like stood abandoned in front of the Alamo till the 1900s. And people were just like, kids would play on it and just kind of mess around with it. And finally someone complained like, "Hey, that thing's ugly. We need to do something with it." And they said one night the people of San Antonio woke up and it was gone, and we don't know what happened to it.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Really?
So,
just the cannon was just gone.
And not only that's an 18-pound cannon. I can only imagine how much that weighs.
Yeah.
Man.
Wow. The fact that it just disappeared it's insane.
So this is what you meant when you said that this area here was kind of like the back of the Alamo, because all the fighting up here and everything.
On the wall. Yeah. It would happen all on the walls. And then once the like I said, once the Mexicans came over, where your mouse is right now, that's the north wall. Once they would have come over that wall, the defenders kind of were like, okay. So they would have ran back into the long barrack area, and that's where all the fight. And once they cleared all that, they would have gone to the church, and that would have been the last place to fall.
Oh man. Wow. Well, this is enlightening. I had no idea, really.
Yeah, this right here is really opening up their perspective for me a little bit different than the photos do.
Yeah, because the photos are always about the church,
Yeah.
Right. They were all about the church. Yeah.
So, Daniel, when you tour the facility now, or the remains or the ruins, what are you actually? I know. So this exists, right?
The
And
church.
then, and then
You
this
can
is
go on the Longbarrett, the Convento,
yeah.
and then you can go over here to, man, it's been so long since I've been there. The other side is the where, like I said, where the beef and everything was kept.
Gotcha.
You can go on the Longbarrett, and then this wonderful lady named Shannon Ralston donated a bunch of money to us because the Alamo didn't have much of a museum. It was very small. So Shannon Ralston donated quite a bit of money to the Alamo, and we have a brand new collection center called the Ralston Family Collections, where you can see so much stuff, not just dated to the Alamo, but dated to that time frame. And so if you ever get a chance, go check out the new museum. And they're actually opening one up across the street where the north the east wall was. They're building an even bigger museum in there because we have so much stuff now. So those right now, the Longbarrett, the church, and the Ralston Family Collections are the three. From what I know, those are the three things that are open that you can go and tour right now.
That's wild. So Davy Crockett would have been killed around right here.
A little more, more towards the church, but then to the left, right around there. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
There's actually a plaque in the ground that states, legends states that this is where Crockett fell. So it's really cool.
That's awesome.
Damn.
And on that, in that area, on the second, under the second window, directly beneath it, there's like, I don't know, 4 or 5 musket ball strikes that you can still see. And story is that,
oh wow,
that's where they lined them up and executed them. So,
oh wow. And it's and the musket ball strikes are right in the area where they say that Crockett would have fell.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Now, and I've heard people say that he was stabbed to death, and I've heard people say that he was shot. We don't know.
Yeah.
So, and you know what? And I've even heard some of the historians say that it was probably target practice from the U.S. Army when they were there.
Could have been. Yeah.
It very well could have been. Yeah. So you don't know.
Yeah.
It's all, in history, you're going to believe what you want, but it's still a cool story regardless.
I was just going to say, every historic event, no matter how important, no matter how small, they all come out with their conspiracies and their tales, and you're not sure what to believe, and so you just there's the things you're just never going to know, right? You have the facts, you have the theories, and then you just kind of do what you can with them. But every event has them. And it just depends on how strong they are and how many years they last for.
You're always going to have your ideas to fight over, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, obviously the Alamo has the exact same theories and beliefs. Yeah, that's interesting.
So, some of the debates I've heard, I'm like, wow, I'm like, are we really arguing about this? People take it seriously. It's just like with Billy. People take the Alamo history very seriously.
Right.
Yeah, man.
Right.
Like, I forgot what I was going to ask, Daniel.
Well, I was going to say, how do we talk about the Alamo and we not talk about Ozzy's special visit in 1982?
I think that's what Misty said, or somebody earlier, that they just
did they bring it up?
Yeah.
Well, I'm an Ozzy nut, so that I know all about. Like, that incident went around. That lasted him for years of his life.
It was Misty. Yeah. She said, always think of Ozzy whenever someone says the Alamo.
Oh, yeah, man. 82, he's performing at the San Antonio Convention Center. Yeah, night of heavy drinking, drugs. He was wearing a dress that was owned by Sharon, and then he relieved himself on the cenotaph, on the 60-foot monument. Yeah, not on the mission itself, but yeah, on the monument. Public intoxication, jailed, and then I think they released him like the next morning or something like that. But then San Antonio told him that he couldn't come back for I think it was 10 years. Right. And then he made all these public apologies, and they didn't really start being okay with it until like the late 90s or the early 2000s.
Yeah. And that's another story that's grown bigger than, or like the legend's bigger than the actual story. Like Pee-wee's bike, the
right.
and where's the basement Pee-wee's bike? Those are probably the number 1 and 2 questions I get asked every day.
Where's Pee-wee's bike? Now my mind is taking me back to what that means.
Oh, yeah. In the basement
dude, that's
of the
so
Alamo.
funny. Yeah.
And the thing is, guess what? The Alamo owns Pee-wee's bike. They just bought it last year.
Dude, that is awesome.
That's awesome. Really?
Yeah.
Dude, I mean,
one of the
that's so
auctions
cool.
By my Young Gun stuff, the Pee-wee bike was for sale, and I was like, man, that's really cool. I was like, the Alamo. I was like, I know they would love to have this. And like a few weeks later, they're like, we got the bike, and I was like, holy crap, that's hilarious.
Hey, did you get those pants in, Daniel?
I haven't gotten them in. No, I'm still waiting.
Oh yeah. Well, when you get those in, we might have to do a whole episode just on the damn pants.
Yeah, and I have quite a bit of collection. I got Christian Slate's complete outfit. I got Blue Diamond shirt. I have a gun that was used by Dermont in part 1.
Get out of here.
I have the Tom O'Fallers. I have 2 of his jackets.
Wow,
I have his
dude.
When he dies and Billy Kid's going through his book, or when Emilio's going through his satchel, and he pulls out the book. I have that book. It's actually sitting right here next to me. The library. I have that. So I have pretty cool collection, man.
Listen, I think you need to donate these things to the Forever West Museum.
I had some costumes from John Wayne's Alamo, and I did donate them to the Alamo. So
too good of you.
I had a gun that was used in the 2004 version. I donated that as well. So when they build this new museum, they're going to have a pop culture section and how the Alamo's portrayed through the media, movies, books, and stuff like that. So
they ought to call it the Daniel Ramirez wing.
That'd be awesome.
So you that's kind of a thing for you. It's not just a Young Guns thing. You have other collections like wardrobe stuff from other films.
I did. The Alamo and Young Guns are kind of what I focus on.
Oh, okay.
But I know that the Alamo really needed some stuff, so that's why I parted with it. But you're gonna have to pull out of my dead hands for my Young Gun stuff. I don't think I can donate that.
You can't do that at all.
Yeah.
Well, we're reaching the hour mark. I want to ask one more thing, Daniel. Is it true that like we don't know exactly where these guys are buried, like individually?
Majority of them were burned. We know that there was 2 funeral pyres. Santa Ana had 2 funeral pyres built. One's if you go to the mall, the mall downtown now in San Antonio, the River Center Mall, across the street, there's a placard on one of the brick walls that said this is where one of the funeral pyres were. And there's like a parking garage where the second one is. I couldn't tell you where that's at. I'm sorry. We do know one defender did have a Christian funeral. Christian burial is because his brother was in the Mexican army. He didn't participate in the battle, but he was there. And after the battle was over, he begged Santa Ana for to go permission to find his brother's body and a Christian burial, and Santa Ana did grant him that.
So Davy Crockett and these guys have no grave.
No. Now, some people will say yes, and I don't believe it. But there's Juan Seguin. I know you got to go, Dust. I'm trying to make this as quick as possible. Juan Seguin went back. He went back to the Alamo a year after it fell, and a bunch of the ashes, the funeral pyres, were just sitting there. So he gathered as much as he could, and he took them to the San Fernando Cathedral, and he buried them there. And but no one really knew if that was true or not. Well, not too long ago, they were doing an excavation dig at the San Fernando, and guess what they found? They found a box where he said that the ashes were.
Well, that's cool.
So it's hanging. They have it on display now, and it says, "Here lies the ashes of." I think it says Crockett, Bowie, Travis. Whether it's really them or not, who knows? But there are ashes in there. We just don't know who it's of. But
wow,
the majority of them were burned. Yes.
Wow. Well, it's been a great time chatting with you, man, about history, ghosts, the paranormal.
This has been eye-opening, man. I learned a lot.
I've learned a lot about
facts,
the Alamo.
theories, ghosts. I mean, everything, dude. It's awesome. I've learned all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it, and appreciate it. I'm going to have you back when those pants come in. We're going to talk about those.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I would love to show that stuff. That would have to be live, I think, on camera so y'all can see it. But it's really, really cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
and
well, I want to thank.
I'm going to the Young Guns reunion, so if anyone goes out there, man, say hi. I would love to meet everybody. If y'all get
that's
a
in
chance
Dallas.
Yeah.
When is that?
September 11th through the 13th, I believe.
Awesome. The Young Guns reunion.
What is it? Like at a Comic Con or something like that? They're doing it.
Yeah, it's the Dallas Fan Expo, and it's I think Lou said it's the first time in 40 years. I don't know if the movie's that old, but that they're all, almost 40 years that they're all the whole cast will be there. Even even Casey Samisko, that guy kind of disappeared from Hollywood, but even he will
he did,
there,
didn't he?
Yeah. So Young Guns was released 1988. I think July or August 1988. And Casey Zemesko that you just mentioned, he, I agree. And I know that there's like a little bit of stories here and there about what happened to him and, for whatever reason. Did you guys see Johnny Depp's film about John Dillinger called Public Enemies? It was directed by Michael Mann, who directed Heat and whatever. Casey Zemesko shows up for a very short time in that film. He's the guy that brings them the souped out V8 Ford at the beginning after they get to that house and they got to find a way out of that house. That's Casey Zemesko. He's just about like 70 pounds heavier, but that's him.
Wow.
Yeah, he had a big curly, like kind of like fro in a way, you know what I mean? He's kind of receding hairline. And I don't know if that was his normal hair, if it was like a wig, but I was looking at it and I'm like, dude, that's Charlie, right? And then I went and looked at the filmography of the film and I'm like, yeah, that's him. And I was like, holy cow, yeah, exactly. I thought he didn't do anything anymore. And that was randomly that film's been out for over a decade now, actually 10 years. So yeah, I don't know what happened to him and why he stopped, but
dude, Iowa Joe just said Casey voiced a character in Red Dead Redemption 2.
What?
Who did he voice? Iowa Joe? I'm a huge Red Dead Redemption fanatic.
Yeah, bro. I was playing it 2 hours ago. What are you talking about? Who did he voice?
We can't end the show until Iowa Joe tells us who he voiced.
Yeah, you better.
What? Roble?
Who?
I know that name. Who was Roble? Who is
Roble?
No, I know this.
Roble's a very small character. It's like a real side mission, or maybe like one of the debt collecting missions.
Yeah, it's something like that. That's wild. Now I'm gonna have to replay the whole game again.
Yep, I'm gonna have to double check that. That's weird.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, Colin's all, who is Roble?
Yeah.
Not a main character, that's for sure, but I know exactly the name is, yes. I can see the face. I'm not positive, but I think it's one of the debt collecting ones, and I think it's the one which would be interesting if that's what I'm thinking of, because if it is Casey, the Roble guy, if that's what, I don't think he speaks English.
It's not. The guy in the house with his
and you have to take all his belongings and he keeps right and he goes, no, you leave me with nothing. I think that's Roble.
Pistol whip him. Yeah,
you have to exactly. The game gives you the option to beat him because he won't give you anything, and he won't give you anything until you beat him.
And he stands in front of that little end table and he's like, no, don't go in here.
No, because it's like jewels or something, right? Yeah. Oh, I think that's Vorble or Varble.
There's a nice Hungarian horse in the barn too. If you need a horse.
Yeah. I think that's him. I'll double check as soon as we're done. But if that is Casey's Moscow, that is crazy.
I think you're right. That's wild.
Wow.
What a nice little Red Dead Redemption 2 special feature here.
That is cool.
Absolutely.
Do you play that too, Daniel? You ever play RDR2?
I play quite often, at least probably 3 or 4 times a week. I do.
Yeah, I've played the story mode like 3 or 4 times through. I just always go back and do it. And I always try to make Arthur evil, and I never can. I just feel too.
We've talked about that. I've played the storyline. The game's been out for what 6-7 years now.
It is the best game ever. Yeah,
it is. Yeah. It just got voted, I think, the best game ever up until this point. But I've noticed that too, man. You go back and you do the missions again, the side things, and all the ones that give you those options, and it will totally affect the a little bit down the line. I can't do things like the very beginning in chapter 2, I think it is, the Jimmy Brooks guy that you dangle off the cliff, or he falls off the cliff and you go,
you made a good choice.
You can
Jimmy
drop
Brooks.
him. Yeah, I never drop him. I've never dropped him. Not once.
Yeah. And the ink pen, that little ink pen that you get from, it's not on him when you go down there, I think, if you drop him. So
and you know what? I always keep the pen the entire time. For some reason I've never sold
me
the pen.
too. I never sell it. Do I need to worry about you, Jimmy Brooks?
Jimmy Brooks, I was in Blackwater. I did kill people. Like, yeah. But yeah, that's I can't do it either. I can't make him
Arthur
bad.
Morgan.
Yeah. That was awesome. That's it. Yeah, I
Oh,
love
man.
going out on a Red Dead 2 note. That's cool.
We need to do an episode on Red Dead 2. That's what we need to do.
Absolutely. And we could do it more. Dude, we're good at stuff like that. We could approach it where it wouldn't just be like, oh, we're going to talk about how cool the game is.
Oh,
you and I we've found a few things over the last couple of years since you and I have been friends. We have found things like those side-by-side images where people have really researched the internet and found where some of these towns and buildings are actually modeled after.
It's a celebration of the West, man.
Dude, really it's so cool. Yeah,
how many people has it gotten interested in the West, I wonder?
Yeah, people who just didn't care, and then they started playing that and go, I wonder what it was like to live this life. Because that's what I feel a lot of times when I play it.
Me too.
The sounds, just from the way your saddle sounds when you're riding the horse, the way your horse breathes. You know what I mean? And everything. When you stop and you put up your tent, your horse just, takes a dump. Like, I mean, everything is so realistic. And you always catch parts of the map. I don't know about you that you're like, yeah, I've been here, but not really been here. Right? Like, get off your horse, right? Put a rifle, like a good sniper rifle, something, and like the Evans repeater or something, throw it on your back and start walking around, go up higher elevation, do whatever, because that's, when you can find stuff like the odd horses that people don't talk about.
Yeah, the white Arabian. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I've been getting into horses that are not the Arabians the last few times I've been playing through. I'm like, I've done all the Arabians. There's ones that aren't necessarily better than the Arabians, but they're harder to come by. They don't spawn as often. But there are a couple where the numbers are just as good as an Arabian. But like I said, like the blue roan Nakota, that one does not spawn very often. But when you get it, dude, it's like a metallic blue. It's like silverish blue. It's awesome. But you can go to the map. I don't know. I've went there 50 times. And I think chapter 5 or chapter 6, it'll finally spawn. And then you can finally get it.
Man.
Yeah, there's all kinds of horse. There's apparently a tiger striped Mustang.
Oh wow!
That doesn't become available until you become John.
I love that part of the map. You find the huge dead snake in the trees near.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a whole story to that too.
Yeah, and it's stuff like that I love to find.
Great game. Great game.
We ought to wrap it up, or we'll go another
all right.
About Red Dead.
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it,
dude. And you're welcome anytime. It's a blast. Thanks for coming.
Absolutely, and you're coming back. We'll do a Young Guns episode.
Yeah, absolutely. Whenever you're ready, just let me know.
Sounds good.
Perfect,
guys. Thanks for listening. We appreciate you being here, and we'll see you next Thursday with another topic. Y'all have a good evening.
See ya.
See you guys.